Welcome to my channel. I'm Scott, and in this video I'm going to walk you through the process of valuing Denny stock by analyzing their financial statements and dissecting their financial ratios so we can determine if it's a buy or a sell. Let's get started with the model. This is a micro cap company, 200 million market cap. They're trading at $4 a share and they have 52 million shares outstanding. Denny's owns and operates franchise restaurant chains under the Denny's and Kiki's breakfast cafe brands. They have stores all around the world. They were founded in 1953, headquartered in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Let's look at their financials. The way you value a company is you estimate the free cash flows into the future and then you discount those numbers back to today's value. That's what we're doing in this video. And free cash flow is cash flow from operations minus capital expenditures. Pretty low free cash flow, 69 million in 2021. It dropped 60% to 28 million in 2022, but back up to 62 million in 2023, but only 1 million for 2024. So it's pretty much a break-even year, at least in terms of cash flow. Net income is the profit or loss on the income statement's revenue minus expenses. And that seems to be going down from 78 million to 22 million. Margins dropped a lot as well, from 20% to 5%. Net profit margin is the percent of your revenue that you convert to net income. So in 2024, they converted only 5% of their revenue. 5% of 452 million is 22 million. Revenue is the sales for the company, and that went up nicely from 21 to 22, but pretty much flat since then. We estimated 4 years of future free cash flows. We also estimated a terminal value, which is all cash flows past year 4, that's 640 million. We discounted those numbers back to today using the weighted average cost of capital. We get a value of the company of $563 million. We divide that by 52 million shares. And we get a calculated stock price of $10.91. They're trading at $3.95, so they're trading at a 64% discount. It's a really strong buy according to the model. There are 55 companies in the restaurant industry, and if Denny's has a number in red, they're worse than the median. If they have a number in blue, they're better. They don't spend much in CapEx, only 27 million. Starbucks spends the most, 2.9 billion, because Starbucks owns all their locations. McDonald's doesn't own any locations. It's a franchise. So the franchisee owns that particular location. McDonald's collects a royalty. And they usually own the real estate at a lot of their locations. We can't look at their debt to equity ratio. They have negative equity. That's why it says NA. They don't pay a dividend. Wendy's pays the highest, 6.4%. That's a big dividend. They only generate 1 million of free cash flow, which of course is worse than the median. McDonald's is the highest by far, 6.8 billion. McDonald's is much more profitable, much more efficient, because they just collect royalties while the franchisee does all the hard work, run the store. Starbucks is responsible for maintaining their stores, staffing them, buying the coffee, insurance, etc. They rank 35th in market cap, 204 million. Cheesecake Factory is 2.4 billion. Yum is 46 billion. Yum owns Habit Burger. Yum also controls Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC. What's your favorite restaurant brand in terms of investment? I think my favorite as an investment, I think it's Chipotle. My favorite place to eat at, that's hard. I don't really eat at these places anymore. I think the Big Mac is my favorite fast food item, but I do like Chipotle a lot. I used to go there for lunch when I worked in Manhattan all the time. Denny's has a great PE, 9.5. It's actually the best on this list. It should be highlighted. Terrible price to free cash flow, 222. Wendy's is the best at 12. They have a really good price to sales, 0.5. Arcos is number 1. Arcos Dorados is a master franchisee for McDonald's. They control McDonald's in 20 countries. They're a franchisee for McDonald's in Argentina, Aruba, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Peru, Venezuela, plus many more. Their revenue is on the smaller side, 450 million. Of course, Starbucks has the most revenue because they run all their stores. Every time you buy coffee, that's revenue for Starbucks. When you buy a McDonald's burger, it's not revenue for McDonald's. It's revenue for the franchisee. Then the franchisee pays a royalty. I believe McDonald's royalty is really low at 5%. So if you spent $100 in McDonald's, then $5 would go to McDonald's Corporation. The other 95 goes to the franchisee, and the franchisee uses that money to pay taxes, to pay rent, payroll, to buy the burger, etc. Their 5-year annual revenue growth rate is negative, the only negative on this list. Look at Dutch Brothers, the coffee chain, 40%. Just this week, they fell below their 52-week low. They're trading at $3.95, about 55% off their 52-week high. If you put $10,000 into this company 10 years ago, after about 4 or 5 years, you would have been at $19,000. But if you're still holding on, you'd be really upset at $3,700 today, a 63% loss. So this could be a great time to get in because it looks like you're getting at a great discount. So to summarize, I have them trading at a 64% discount, ranking 7 out of 10. I would definitely buy it short term since it's trading at its 52-week low. Long term, I think it's a good bet. It's a good company, good brand, 8 out of 10. Ratios are okay. PE is great. Price to sales is great. But price to free cash flow and price to book are not great. Financials 4 out of 10 because their revenue hasn't moved since 2022. It is up 14% since 2021, but free cash flow is down. Let's take a look at their income statement. This is 2022, 2023, and 2024. So you can see revenue hasn't really moved. It's still around 450 or 460 million. Company restaurant sales, 212 million. So I guess they do own restaurants. Not all are franchised. So around 60% of their revenue is franchisee and licensed revenue, and about 40% are their restaurants that they own. It was a similar breakout in prior years. Let's see if they give more detail on the revenue. Here's the actual percentage. It's 53% franchise and licenses, 47%. They give a further breakdown of the franchise and license revenue. Royalties, 118 million. Advertising, 80 million, because a lot of franchises charge a royalty and advertising fee. They may say a 6% royalty, a 2% advertising fee. So it's like an 8% royalty. That's how a franchisee thinks about it, 8% royalty. They don't say 6% and 2% for advertising. Most franchises charge an upfront fee, so maybe $10,000 or $50,000. That's a one-time fee when you start the franchise, when you buy into it. They generated $8.7 million from those initial fees. 2 years ago was $28 million. Occupancy, so it looks like they owned some real estate and rented out, $33 million. That's also down from prior years. Most of their revenue is Denny's, $427 million. $25 million for their Kiki's brand. In 2022, they acquired Kiki's for $82.5 million. When they initially acquired it, they said they were going to expand Kiki's and close 150 Denny's. At the end of 2023, there were 1,600 Denny's. And of those 1,600, the company owned 66. The rest were franchised out. A majority of the restaurants are in the US, 1,445. The next biggest country is Canada, 84. And there's a bunch in Mexico, Puerto Rico, Philippines, just a handful in New Zealand, Honduras, UAE, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Guam, El Salvador, Indonesia. Only one in Indonesia, Curacao, and the UK. California is the biggest state, 363, which makes sense. California has the most people, and in terms of land size, it's the biggest, next to Alaska. Alaska is huge. It's much bigger than any other U.S. state. Texas is number 2 with 204 locations. Florida, number 3, 124. Let's look at this income statement since it has percentages. So below revenue are their expenses. Product costs, $54 million. That's a quarter of their revenue. Payroll, $80 million. That's 38% of their revenue. Occupancy, $18 million. That's rent. That's 9% of their revenue. And other, $37 million, 18% of their revenue. So the total costs for the company restaurants is $189 million, which is 90% of that $212 million of revenue. Then you have the expenses for the franchises. Half of the expense is the cost of franchise and license revenue. Then you have G&A, depreciation, etc. So their total expenses is $407 million. That includes all the expenses for the company operated stores. So that's 90% of their revenue. 90% of $452 million is $407 million. So operating income is $45 million. A 10% operating margin, which is down from prior years. Last year, 11%, before that, 13%. Their net income is $22 million, which is up from last year, but down a lot from 2022, with 16% of their revenue. It looks like last year they had a loss of $8 million in other. This year they had a gain of $2 million. So that was the big swing which is why their net income is higher this year than last year. But 2 years ago, they had a gain of $52 million in other. So that's why they had this operating profit of $74 million. Let's look at a balance sheet. Their current assets, $40 million. Current liabilities, $95 million. So their current ratio is upside down. That means they're going to need to add debt to get through the next 12 months. When your current assets cannot cover your current liabilities, that's a big red flag. Their total assets, $500 million. Their biggest asset is operating lease right-of-use assets, $124 million. These are assets that are owned by someone else that they lease. So this could be real estate or equipment. Goodwill, $66 million. Intangibles, $91 million. Their total liabilities, $530 million. So liabilities are higher than assets. That's why they have negative equity. Their biggest liability is long-term debt, $260 million. The entire $261 million is due next year, August 2026. That's why the stock is going down so much, because I think people feel they will not be able to pay off the debt and be forced into bankruptcy. That's a lot of cash to come up with. Because when you look at their operating cash flow, it's only $30 million. So for the whole year, they only generated $30 million of cash flow. And most of that $30 million went to pay for CapEx. So they had no cash remaining. Last year was better, $72 million of operating cash flow, $10 million of CapEx. But even last year was only 60-something million. It would take them 3 to 4 years to just generate enough cash to pay off their debt. Assuming they were able to replicate 2023. If they replicate 2024, they have no extra cash, so they definitely need to take on debt to pay the old debt. To learn how much debt or equity they added or reduced, look in the financing section. That's the third section on the statement of cash flows. There's operating, investing, and financing. So in 2024, they added $115 million of debt. They paid down $109 million of debt. They bought back $11 million of their own stock. I'm not sure why they're buying back stock. They don't have enough cash to do that. Last year, they bought back $50 million. Before that, $65 million. Let's look at the stock on Simply Wall Street. Last price, $391, $213 million market cap, down 7% in the past week. It's gotten crushed in the past year, down 56%. Are you a bottom feeder? This could be a great time to pick it up. These kind of stocks go up and down pretty quickly, so you don't want to hold too long, but you don't want to sell and miss out on some upside. Let's see where the stock has been trading the past several years or decades. So you can see it started trading in 1998, it looks, maybe 97. And just a few years later was a dot-com crash in 2001, and pretty much all stocks tanked. This got real low, 28 cents. When was that? I can't even really tell in this chart. But it was trading below $1 for a lot of 2001, 2002. In 2003, it got real low. That's when it hit 28 cents in 2003. But you could have been a multi-millionaire, of course, if you had a crystal ball and you were able to sit on the stock for like 15, 20 years, because it went up from 28 cents to almost $24. That's about a 90x return. So 10,000 would have been 900,000. But like I said, you would have had to wait 16 years. It would be hard not to sell because within 2 years, you're up 2,000%. And it didn't do much from 2005 to 2014. Those 9 years, it just came down and back up. 2019 was the peak, which was a good year before the COVID crash. And you can see the COVID crash brought it down to $6. So if you got it at 6, you'd be down right now if you held out. But you could have made an amazing return. It hit almost $20 in the beginning of 2021. Yeah, 1982 was the peak. But I think that looming debt in 2026 is the reason there's a big sell-off. And retail is a tough game. It's a grind. Not many companies are good at it. Some are good at it for just a few decades, and then they struggle. Very few are good at it long term. Costco does it well, Walmart does it well, but not many others do it well. Simply Wall Street's valuation is at $4 where they're trading at. 7 analysts priced it at $7.50, a 92% undervalued stock. Maybe the reason the stock has gone down is because revenue is flat. It was $400 million in 2021. It looks like its high was $470 million in 2023, but it hasn't really gone up since then. The forecast is still below $500 million by 2026. Let's see if they give more information, more years of revenue performance. So it looks like the peak in revenue was 2018, $630 million. And of course, COVID brought it way down to $270 million. So in 2014, $460 million, now it's $450 million. So it really hasn't gone up much in the past 10 years. You can see they always have a good amount of debt on their balance sheet. The peak was $400 million in 2020. They did bring it down to $260 million currently, but their equity is always negative, which means their liabilities are higher than their assets. And they don't have much cash, $2.8 million of cash. Some people watching this video have more cash. The CEO's salary was $460,000 in 2022, now it's $900,000. Total compensation $5 million. In the past year, one insider sell, but a lot of buys. Everyone is down on their investment because the stock is trading below $4. Brenda's happy, she sold it at $7, but these other people are all down. The CEO paid $513 about a month ago, and she's already down like 30%. So you can get a better deal than the CEO if you buy it today. 87% of the company is owned by institutions, 9% by the general public, and 3% by insiders. The biggest shareholder is the asset manager Allspring, 17%, then BlackRock, 7.5%, Wellington, 3%, State Street, 2.1%, Schwab is 1%, DE Shaw is 0.8%. And their employee count has gone down quite a bit. It was 8,300, now it's 3,800. It's the opposite. They switched to 8 and a 3. The ticker trades on the NASDAQ and Deutsche Börse. So if you want a copy of my discounted cash flow model, click on the video in the top right corner.